Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us for our Epic Quotes Commercial Lines quarterly update. Quick note for folks, we're talking about Epic Quotes Commercial Lines US, not Canada today, just in case anybody from our friends up north are joining. But my name's Maggie. I'm on the customer success team for Epic Quotes Commercial Lines. I'm going to be keeping an eye on our Q&A and sending some helpful materials in the chat as Ryan goes through his quarterly update. Ryan and his team have been super busy. We have a lot of exciting launches that just went live and things coming over the next couple of months. But in case you're new here, we host these product webinars quarterly just to share exactly that. We are recording the session here today and going to send a follow-up email to you folks with the recording in a little bit. But if you do have any questions, feel free to throw that in the Q&A. We'll get to those through the presentation, or if we can't answer it, then someone will follow up with you. But with that, I'm going to pass it off to Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you, Maggie. All right, why don't I share my screen? And for those that haven't joined us yet, I am Ryan Lapp. I lead our product here from Epic Quotes Commercial Lines. I also lead our Tarmica product as well, our kind of standalone solution. And then I also work with our carriers from more of the back end connections of all this. How do we get this great rich data over into the carriers? So let's get right into it. So we have a lot to cover. First things first, we always like to kind of start with why are we here? What are we really doing? And if you're new, this is obviously why I like to start here. So what are we trying to accomplish? Two biggest things. We want to make this faster. We want to accelerate the process for you. A lot of times we talk about how can we get you into Epic Quotes and out of Epic Quotes as fast as possible, meaning you got to the right account, you want to action on that quote and those multiple submissions, and then how do you get to the carrier portals as fast as possible to ultimately bind that business. By doing that, we hope that you can actually get more of that actual submission workflow. Can you process more? Can you have less things that stay on your desk or fall to the wayside because you're able to be more efficient and hopefully get more at bats, we like to say. And then why do you all like to use these? And there's some key points here. Efficiencies, obviously the big one, that which usually leads to win rates. A lot of times the newer staff is starting in these small commercial areas. You know, it's easier for them to kind of step up into the larger, more complex risks. So we get a lot of good process discipline there by making sure that they're following the exact steps that you have set up. And then we're going to ask a little bit about this later in kind of more of the roadmap stuff, where it says here we have a roadmap candidate for Epic Quotes. It's in Tarmica now, but we have a lead capture mechanism. So think of direct to consumer. You either want to get that just lead in, or you could even present quotes directly to them. And then why are we really doing this? What's challenging with it? To me, that's the most exciting part of all this is how do we overcome some of these challenges? And right now, when you think about rating, we're actually a pretty, small portion of the overall pie here. And it's growing. Honestly, it's growing every day. There are some carriers like Chubb that is significantly investing in digitizing more of their submission process. So that's going to just keep growing and growing and growing. And we want to work with you to establish those processes, get all that efficiency underway now. So as things just keep getting added, you're already ahead of the curve. The middle one here, the whether a risk is rateable, but not always apparent that you might not be able to rate it. They have appetite for it, but it might be too big, too complex. It has to go to a human underwriter. There's a lot of stuff we are working on there to make sure that you don't hit a brick wall, we like to say. You want to make sure that regardless of how that carrier can receive that risk, we give you a workflow to do that. And then sometimes this one's with one I put a lot of pressure on our carriers of they'll sometimes have different appetites within their API infrastructure, what they're giving us access to, and what they actually have in their own portals, which puts you at a disadvantage. And it honestly it hurts the trust of our product. So we're working with the carriers heavily on that piece to make sure that the appetite within our APIs and our applications here matches what's in the portal. All right. So what does this really look like in Epic? Couple quick little screenshots here, but I'm actually going to pull up Epic later on and just do a really quick demo. So we'll be able to take a quick peek if you haven't seen it yet. But we have over 30 markets. We have more than 60 products. We actually expanded our product from a multiple location that keeps increasing. Last quarter it was in the 50s. Now it's up into the 60s. We actually had our bindable rates come down a little bit, and I'll explain that because we rolled out commercial auto. Commercial auto is an indication only, so we rolled out a few more products there, so that brought our percentage down. But we're going to talk about how that percentage is actually going to increase as well as we get through the year because we're working towards more and more bindable rates. So not issuing and binding the policy in the application. We want to get you to the portal so you have all your credits and all the extras that you can get at the portal. But we want to give you a really firm, think locked, in concrete rate, so you feel comfortable going out to your insureds. All right, so what is that current pay? Oh, we lost the line of business. It didn't come over in the presentation. Well, we have one more here as well. We have BOP, we have GL, we have work comp, and the auto one for some reason snuck out on me here. We have cyber, we have packages, which is in your BOP flow. Just if it's a little bit more complex, a little bit larger, we'll also support that paper, so to say, that package. And then we also do ENS. That's also within our BOP flow. We have our key specialty that will do a package, will do a GL, will do a property, kind of just depending on what that risk needs. And then right now we're looking at professional liability. For some reason, some of my icons didn't come through here. But when we did some research with you all last webinar, overwhelming majority was commercial property. But I'm sorry, there are just no APIs that the carriers are building around that right now. Monoline, commercial line, or commercial property in an API is just not something that's high on their radars. But professional liability is in the marine. There's some other ones there that are really important. So right now we're going to be moving towards professional liability as we get into the second half of this year. But just like the poll that just popped up, let us know what you'd like to see. And then while that is up, oh, there she comes. All right, I must have had some sort of animation on here. I didn't realize I did that. All right, so here's while you're looking at the survey, here's our actual available markets now. We have Progressive that is launching with our commercial auto product, which they're going to be starting hopefully later this quarter. We'll get them live if we get through testing and everything. But this is our current panel. Like I said, a little over 30 markets. And then just real quickly, what do we look like by line of business? We have QD Donegal Nationwide, our launch carriers. If you were with us last time, you may see something a little bit different on the slide. Central is no longer part of the auto rollout. They just had some priority shifts on their side, and they wanted to make some tweaks to the API before they rolled it out. So we're going to be working with them later this year to do that. And then we have BOP. You'll see here all the little lot guys here. These are our bindable rates. So BOP's about 50-50. We have CGL is about 50-50. We got Markel in implementation right now. They're testing. They'll have a janitorial and an artisan kind of BOP program on here. And we have our bindable rates for our cyber carriers. And then for work comp, this hopefully next time we all get together, at least there'll be an implementation at that point. We're going to be 100% bindable when it comes to work comp. We're going to work on Acuity and Liberty Mutual next to completely round out this screen, so you will have 100% bindable rates within EQCL and Tarmica as well. All right, so what's coming? This top one here. I am very, very excited for. We're generically calling it quick quote. If you're familiar with the workflow today, think about now instead of looking at that last page, the supplementary screen where you see all those underwriting questions and all the yes nos. Do you need this and that? We are happy pathing that with our carriers and working with the ones that are on the screen here to identify what those defaults could be so they can be pre-filled and then that quote can automatically be sent after you finish those first couple pages. So when you get through what we call the base question set, what everyone steps through, regardless of the market you're going to submit, we're going to have quotes waiting for you right at that screen. So we're starting with our kind of larger national markets that already have these defaults set with us, but we will be rolling that out throughout the year with all 30 plus markets would really be the goal where you can get that really quick quote or you can continue on. You really like these three carriers and what their responses were, and now you're going to go into that supplementary page and instead of now clicking all the boxes and checking everything, you can more just kind of view and verify, we like to say. You can look at what was already set by the carrier based on their kind of best practices. And, let's say it's a restaurant, are they open, past 11 p.m.? Maybe it's set to false. Well, maybe they actually are open till 2 a.m. or something. Well, you flip that to 2 a.m. instead of 11 p.m. You resubmit, can change the rate, and away you go. So it's really, really useful for those where you need to get a quick indication. You want to know what's in appetite. We have so many users that actually enter in that data in the base question set, stop right there, launch, and go to their portals and retype in the data after they've figured out what carriers are in appetite. Well, you have to retype the data. Well, in this way, we've already sent what we could to the carrier, and now you can click the link, bridge to the portal, finalize everything you want to finalize there without having to retype all that data that you did. So again, get as efficient as possible into the app and out of the app as fast as we can. So there'll be a lot more coming out about that. Like I said, we want to get to all of our markets as we roll this out. And then for some of our larger customers that need some unique ways of working with users, we are going to be moving to a self-serve user maintenance within Epic Quotes. So you will not have to contact support to add or remove users. Your Epic admin can add or remove whoever they need to. And then if you're an Epic Quotes admin, then you can go in there and mess with contract codes and credentials, and you can kind of help those users that have been enabled. But if you do want to add someone or remove someone, you no longer will need to contact us. You will have that ability. So kind of a couple big ones here that again I'm really excited about the quick quote. I think it's gonna kind of change how users are actually navigating within the application, especially with declinations, where regardless of what you may or may not fill out in that supplementary screen, you're going to get declined, but the carrier isn't giving us that depth. Good example is from an appetite eligibility standpoint, I'm a restaurant, in the Northeast. I have $500,000 in revenue, few employees. Let's say all the carriers on this screen want that piece of business. When they find out the exact zip code, I live on Cape Cod. When I go and test things and I try to type in an address, it's almost always declined because I'm wind, hail exclusions, hurricane type of stuff. So regardless if that restaurant was open 24 hours or not, the zip code actually is what is going to knock it out. But the carriers aren't going to give us that logic because it might change on their side with their models. So this example, you won't have to waste time. That last page, you're already going to know that one of these carriers is going to be knocked out. And again, all about efficiency, how to get you in and out as fast as possible. Okay, so market standpoint, like I mentioned earlier, Markel, Progressive, and Liberty from an auto. And then we're going to be circling back, getting more bindable rates. We're even with some of our carriers that have packages alongside their BOPs. We're going to start adding all of that in so we can make your net be a little bit bigger. And then, in case anyone missed it, because sometimes you don't join all these, or you miss the release notes, or you all got busy, busy lives. You can automate cyber quotes now within Epic Quotes. It came out last year. So what we've seen most of the time is like a BOP or a GL, and someone will select when that BOP or GL is picked. I automatically want my users to be quoting cyber. And the good thing about that is, again, that base question set flow I was talking about earlier, with a BOP and a GL, when you add the cyber, there's nothing additional that you're going to fill out until you get to that supplementary page where you're looking at, the cyber specific questions. Later on, we'll have a default update coming out that will help with that piece as well, kind of related to the quick quote I was talking about earlier. We have to default the supplementary questions to get you these rates earlier. So we can do the same thing with cyber. So you can automate it, so it's always added to a BOP or a GL, or even a work comp or something if you wanted to. And then if you do that BOP and GL, walk all the way through the flow, you'll get a response for cyber without filling out any additional questions. And in the next iteration of this would really be, would you like it to be class specific? Do you want to do it when they're, some sort of online retailer, or they take payments of some sort, they have an online presence, that type of classification. Maybe it's less about line of business and more about the class. So if this is interesting to you, if you're trying to get more around cyber, cross sell, upsell, kind of account rounding, let us know. There's a lot we can talk about here. All right. So I'm going to jump into, let me stop the screen share real quick and get myself moved over here. Gonna pull up Epic. Okay. Let me go to my Kirby coffee shop here. And Chad on my team got me set up with a fake account here just so y'all don't have to watch me enter in data. He was gracious enough to get all that data set up for us.
Chad's the
So again, if you,
best.
it really is. No one wants to see me type. You got more important things to do. So again, if you're not familiar with Epic Quotes commercial lines, this is your main screen when you come in. I already kind of had it queued up, but you would go to your, Kirby coffee shop. You would click on quotes. It knows that it's a commercial account, so commercial lines is going to pop up, not the personal lines quotes, and it gets you right into the session here. It does work with structure, so from a permissioning standpoint and all of that, you'll be good to go. And then now you see our new auto checkbox here. You can add this with multiple lines. If you want to quote a BOP with an auto, you can definitely do that. The screens are going to be exactly the same that you guys are used to until we get to the kind of risk information tab. So this is where it's first going to get kind of fancy, let's say, for auto. So he has a Silverado queued up here, and let's say you have a small fleet where they're basically doing the same thing, but maybe you have a few different trucks. What we've done there for you is you can use this duplicate button to literally exactly copy this piece here. And let me grab a VIN quick. And let's say we're going to switch this one to be an F-150. So I hit search, and now you'll see here it kind of instantly went kind of validation error because I changed my vehicle, and now we need to classify it. So this one is a light truck. We're also going to pull, we use the same data service. So this is a VIN decoder. It's the same service that our friends at EasyLinks use from a personal lines rating. It's kind of the gold standard for like the data that sits behind this, kind of the gold standard for VIN lookups. But as you see here, I picked this for a specific example. It's not going to have absolutely everything. We built this in a way, though, that we can actually start to pull in multiple different VIN data sets to start to augment where we are missing stuff. Even from a gold standard, it's not always perfect. So let's just say I think the F-150s are somewhere in the 7,000s range, you can just type this right in and away you go. Clears that validation. And if it's in the data, we will pre-fill that information. If you don't have a VIN, you can just go through year, make, model, and it will make sure that you can't set up a 1980 Ford Corvette or something like that. It'll make sure everything is lined up. We also let you override things here, especially like a gross vehicle weight. What if this was a 2500 pickup and they took the bed off the back and they up fitted it and now your gross weight's maybe 9,000. So there's different things like that where we'll be able to kind of help you navigate. We'll give you the information, and if you need to override it, you very much can. And then we'll have our different class categories here. This is a little coffee shop. So let's say it's they're delivering snacks or something, and you can go through and set those up. Now it's also, if you saw real quick on the side panel here, when I added this vehicle, it checked again to see if there's anything that is knocking any one of these carriers out. For all of these, it doesn't. We also try to default some of these common ones. It's primarily up to 50 miles. It's used for business, and we're trying to again help you have all the questions there, so you get to those bindable rates, but not having to actually click on everything. You can kind of view and verify as well. And then this is a single state policy. These are not multi-state policies. This is a carrier requirement. We do have plans to support multi-state. Nothing technically that we're stopping there. It's just where the APIs are right now from a carrier standpoint. So we have some logic here. This business is in Illinois. You're only going to be able to add Illinois addresses. And this pulls from your primary address. But if you need to add in, you take it home. You have two locations, things like that. You can add in another address, and then it will save that address for this vehicle. And then if I go and say new vehicle to create a third one, if I had changed this address, it would have changed it for this one too. So it remembers from where to before. So if you're going down like a spreadsheet, because we don't have an ingestion process here, just because during research, you're not uploading 50 vehicles. That's just not where we're at right now. You were in small, handful is usually what we would hear. So then you can easily hit new, and then again, you can come in here and do the VIN, or you could do something like this where, maybe it's 2025. Let's say they got A4, and you can go through and figure out all the different ways that comes through. So hopefully y'all don't have to use ChatGPT like we found in our research, and you can have fun with our Polk data here. But that's really what we're looking at from a vehicle standpoint. I'm just going to delete this one so we don't have any validation issues. And then from a driver info, basic stuff here, who are they, date of birth, license number, those kinds of things. We've tried to default what we can. So any violations, no. Do you want to exclude them? No. But if you want to add those, flip them over, you definitely can. And then from a coverages standpoint, since it is, some of these are vehicle specific, we'll have in the, if you use the flow before, you'll kind of see this where if there's certain questions under a building or anything, they'll kind of stack. So here you'll be able to set up, do you want comp or collision coverage? Yes, I want collision. What's going to be the deductible? All of those kinds of things. And then we get into the state coverages. Again, single state. So we lock this down. But this is already looking towards the future, where if you have 4 locations in 2 states, there would be 2 state-specific coverages here. So let's say you have 2 in Wisconsin and 2 in Illinois. The system is smart enough to know that there's 2 unique states, not 4 things you have to look at. So that will be something that hopefully we can get to, probably not this year from a carrier standpoint, but hopefully next year we can really start expanding out to those much, much, much bigger auto policies. And then we have all the different, like this is crazy when you look at it behind the scenes based on the state. What are the limits? What are the different coverages that are all set up? All of that is very dynamic. If you need something, then what is the limit? Again, based on the state. And then when you're ready, you hit next and you go into the select markets just like you do today. And when I was talking about quick quote, this is where the quick quote will be. At the top of the screen here, we would now have those responses. because we've defaulted this supplementary page and we know what values to kind of set there. So real quick, if anyone, obviously, it's there for you now. Go in and play with it. If anyone has any questions, please reach out. But it's the biggest nuance I think is the VIN decoder. We have year, make, model. You can duplicate vehicles when you have quick little fleets, and the garaging addresses really need to be in the primary location state. That's how the carriers are defining it. All right. Do we have any questions that all come through, Maggie? Are we good?
Not yet, but great
Okay.
reminder. If you do have any questions, throw them in that Q&A and we'll get to them.
Yeah. All right. Trying to think. Oh, the other thing too, the actual defaults. You will kind of see where these are coming from. We call the industry defaults are the ones that come from our Ivans team. You also can set up like where this is kind of a default, so to say, but it's more pre-filling from Epic. We will let you know where all this data is coming from as well. Okay. Now let me flip back over.
One quick question, actually, Ryan,
Yeah.
that just came in.
Mm-hmm.
Tony noticed that there's an additional license. Is that needed in Epic?
Yes, you would need to purchase Epic Quotes commercial lines. If it is part of certain packages. So we'd have to look at what kind of how you're set up all already with that with Epic. If you're on the certain digital packages, this can sometimes be included. But it is a licensed product. Your agency has to have access to it, and then we work with you on how many actual users you need within it. But we can definitely, if you want, just give you a sales rep and they can definitely help out with if you have the right package or not.
Awesome.
Good question. All right. Well, do we have any other questions? Otherwise, this is gonna be a little quick one. We've been working on auto. If you've been with us for these last few sessions, the last kind of 6 months of the year was all auto. We got it out few weeks ago. And now we're just looking to, the next set of carriers like we had on there. And like I said, the quick quote and user maintenance and more lines of business. There'll be a bunch more coming out here. But any other questions?
Sorry, I was muted. We have some more questions. So if the vehicle and drivers are filled in to the application under policy, does that then pull into the
It
quote?
does. Yes, I should have brought that up. Yes, we have an integration with the kind of core policy data. It won't pull absolutely everything, but pretty much everything you saw on the screen there. If it's in Epic, you'll get your vehicles in, you'll get those drivers in. And we could probably, if you're really interested to get into the weeds of what's all there, we have an internal, mapping document that I'm sure we could share. But it will pull your same for BOPs, GLs, work comp. It will when it's a new business, it'll pull over your account contact, and if it's an existing policy, you can pull over those details. And even if you're trying to quote, let's say, a cyber, and you only have their a GL with them right now, you could pull what details you can from the GL, pull them into the quote, and then finish out the rest. Good question.
And then a few more on quick quote. For carriers that only require the producer email address to submit, will quick quote then pre-fill the user's email?
That's exactly what we're going to have to do. Yep, that's why we're starting with a smaller group is we want to work with those carriers because some have some really honestly cumbersome for you guys flows and the codes you got to type in and usernames and passwords. So we want to work with those that are just a little bit easier to work with. And then what we'll be doing for Quick Quote is if you have more than one credential, like the username or password or a contract code, we'll need to work with you to identify what can be the default. What should we include when we're trying to submit to Travelers or Hanover or Liberty, so that you don't have to pick it. Because some of you in those larger orgs, you could have quite a few different codes. But that's also why I brought up the structure. You can tie codes to your structure. So, if you have a central placement area, it's not just that person and what they have access to, based on what that quote structure is, it can give them access to different codes and credentials and different things like that.
And then someone was wondering why all of the carrier partners on EQCell aren't available for quick quote. Why it's that smaller group, if you don't mind going over
Yeah,
that again.
great question. The biggest thing is that group that's right there, those kind of seven or eight, those are the ones we're already doing this workflow with, actually in our direct-to-consumer product that we have in Tarmica. That one which we're looking at, if you want to bring over into Epic Quotes, is really, do you want to have that more lead gen, that direct to consumer, a button, on your website that says, get a quote. Get a bot working GL quote, and then you can kick it off. So those markets, those are the ones that have already confirmed all those defaults with us. So we're going to roll with those. And then we have kind of think of it as phases. We're going to get to everybody, but we can't do everyone at once.
That was a great segue to our question on if an insurer-facing portal is something of interest to you folks. So appreciate your responses on that for Ryan and the
Yeah.
team. Another question, if someone has more than 5 or 6 vehicles, closer to 10 or 15, can they still use the commercial auto workflow?
Yes. This is where there's a little nuance, just to be perfectly honest with everyone. I'm not going to name names because I don't like doing that, but some of the carriers on the panel struggle with their APIs. And we have things in place that will keep you from hopefully experiencing the timeouts and they can't get through that amount of vehicles. There's only one there that's going to have a problem. Some of them can take 99 vehicles, 1,000 vehicles. We don't have a limit within the system, but we will start to show you the ones that are kind of struggling. So the ones that are coming, Progressive and Liberty, have really, really great APIs. So there is really no limit. The research just showed usually we were on the single digits, but nothing stopping you from adding in more.
Thank you. Next question. Can a vehicle driver schedule be imported from a PDF or Excel into EQCL?
Not yet. Just the main version is we wanted to get this out in the hands of you all, and the research showed kind of three, four, five vehicles was the vast majority of the time what they're doing. But to that point, building kind of CSV intake kind of things before everything we're talking about AI right now, it's much more static. You have to copy paste into a template and it's a pain in the butt. Well, now, especially with our Cytora acquisition, if you were at AppliedNet last year, they talked about autofill. Autofill is going to be another big thing they're going to be talking about this year and bringing in that unstructured data and bringing it into Epic. We want to bring that into the coding flow, and not only just for this, for vehicles, but think building data and coverages, deck pages. You can upload a deck page and prefill stuff. Have an Excel file of all their locations and drivers and vehicles and upload that. So those are all things that we are looking at for later on. We're doing some really cool things with Cytora, not related to autofill yet, but you'll hear some pretty neat stuff coming out with the quoting world, but it is on the radar. So if that's something that's really important, you are doing tons of 10, 15 vehicle submissions, let us know that. You guys will drive priority on, when we build these things. But research just showed that it was minimal. So we wanted to get it out there and get it going before we, built every single feature that's going to be available for you.
Ryan's awesome. He listens to everybody's feedback and
Try
definitely
to, try
incorporates
to.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. Another one. How can folks set up their carrier logins, like those that are required on configure within Epic Quotes?
Yeah, good question. Somewhat depending on your security settings, you would go into the Epic configuration, and there's an Epic Quotes area, and there's a user page. You turn on your markets there and what lines of business you want to support, and then you're going to see your contract codes, producer codes, and your credentials. Any user can set up their own credentials, so how you may log into the website. Only about half of our carriers require the password, which is good. We're trying to get it even less. But in that producer code area, if you're an admin, could go in. An Epic Quotes admin, not necessarily an Epic admin. You can go in and set those producer codes for each one of your users, and that's what I was saying earlier on the structure. If you're a little bit bigger of an agency and it's not just all one setup, maybe different locations, you can segment things. So that admin will go in, add it per carrier, and then in the workflow, you can always select from the drop down if there's more than one.
Thanks, Ryan. I'll also plug if you ever, anybody on this call ever has any like how-to questions, our customer success team, we host office hours. I'll be sure to drop the link in the chat, but you can also find it under Applied University and we can cover that, anything else that you want to. That's hosted by me and some other folks on my team. Another question is property habitational available or is it coming soon?
I've been pushing on the carriers for property. It honestly, it's probably not coming soon. There really are not standalone monoline property APIs right now. But again, we got things underway, especially with our Cytora group, with our way that we can start to really work with carriers when maybe they don't have APIs. Maybe it's not an instant rate, but could we still put that workflow in the rater, so to say, so you could see appetite as you're going along and doing a GL policy. Maybe you want to offer that property as well, and at least being able to get the data in and the appetite checked and the eligibility, and then getting the data to the carrier. That's how we're going to kind of approach these areas where you guys have needs, but carriers aren't really, meeting those with the APIs yet. There's a bunch of stuff that we'll be looking at later this year to help with that, kind of close those gaps there.
And then another question, are Epic admins able to grant users access to EQCL the same way that folks can grant access with Epic Quote's personal lines?
We will be doing, that's the change that's coming with the user maintenance. So right now, you would have to submit the support. They add the users, it's a named user type of license where we have to say, Maggie or Dara or Ryan actually has access to get in. Where we're going to look at kind of removing some of those elements and giving it to the Epic admin, just like personal lines. So you could go create your, commercial lines group, add all your users into the commercial lines group, and when they're in that group, they automatically inherit Epic Quotes commercial lines security setting. And then now they see on the left-hand nav, they would see commercial quotes there. That's what we're going to be looking at launching later this year because we want to remove that burden from you guys and honestly from our support team. It's almost half of our support cases are just turning users on and off. So that's good for the product. It means the product isn't doing all too bad, but it's not fun for you guys. You may have to wait even, a few hours or a day, and maybe you really need to get that quote in there. And we want you to be able to control that. Yeah, and hopefully the next time we
That
get
was,
together, we'll hopefully have that one.
love it. So that was all of our questions. We had one other about just asking about that import. Answer is
Okay.
no, not yet.
Not
But
yet. We'll
love
look at that
the
one. Yep.
feedback here. We're all transparent on this group. Ryan,
We
do you have
are.
any final thoughts for the folks on the call here today?
I like to always say, don't be shy. Carriers want to hear from you. They don't necessarily want to hear from us. They want to hear where they can help, where they can meet you. If this is a tool that's going to help you be more efficient and place more business, they like to hear those things. And so if there's any way we can help you, get that information to the carriers. I actually had one of our agencies said, "Hey, send me an email with a little blurb of what you guys do, and I'll blast it out to every single one of my markets." And awesome, thank you. Because ultimately that just helps all of you. If we only need a few people really pushing on these carriers to adopt these more digital workflows, and it's the betterment for everyone. So don't be shy to us. Feedback, please, to them. And if you need any help, just reach out. We're here.
I'll also mention that we have an email template that you'll be able to launch from EQCL coming very soon if you want to send
Nice.
something similar out to your carrier rep. So stay on the lookout for that next month.
Even better. Even better. Maybe if we can be annoying, they'll make some changes. Yeah. All right. Any other questions come in?
One more. Do you have an actual Epic Quotes commercial lines training? I do. I'll just drop that link in the chat as well. We host monthly sessions on, I believe it's every third Thursday of the month, but
Sounds
I
right.
will double check. I'll drop the link in the chat here before we drop off so you can register for that. We'll cover a demonstration, kind of do like those how-to questions.
Yeah, they'll get a lot deeper than what I kind of did here too. Just kind of keeping it at a high level with auto. They'll be able to get a little bit farther in with the team.
Alrighty. Thanks, everyone.
Happy Thursday. Thank you all.
Yeah.